Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So for today's video we're going to be making a very classy, classic kind of wedding card. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so today's going to be a very classic, simple kind of card. So I'm not going to do too much complicated stuff with it, but you know, I'm making a card. It has to be something a little bit fancy. So I'm starting off with a little bit of Express It blending card, and I'm just putting that into my Misti. And as per normal, my magnets are going to stick together. And I'm grabbing out Happy Wedding. This is such a great set from Fawn. It's one that, when I got it, I think I bought it in a D-stash or something similar. And I thought, oh, I'll very rarely use that. I reckon I use it at least sort of once every 3 months, because people get married. Or engaged. So yeah, it's a good one to have. It's got some really good sentiments in it. So I'm grabbing the cake and the little birds. There are another set of birds here, the single birds. I'm going to have the double birds for this one. I'm just putting that into my Misti. I'm just going to stamp that up with my intensified black ink from Hero Arts. I'm just using the little block because there's so little to do with this one. There we go. Stamp that down. Whoops, that was a bit quicker than I wanted it to be. I need to get one of those pressure pal things, but I'm not there yet. Okay. So then we've got our two little images. I'm keeping this very, very, very plain when it comes to colouring. I don't want to do anything too fancy or too much because it's a very black and white theme. So I'm thinking I'm going to do just a very pale. Okay, let's start with the things I know. I want to do some orange for the beaks, so I'm grabbing a couple of pale oranges for those. I want to put the orange. I'll put something in the flower that'll match the little hearts. So let's do a really pale. I'm just staying away from pink, not because not for any other reason than I just don't want to do pink. I'm going to do purple. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of grey for the plate. So I've got YO1, YRO1 and YRO2, which I'll do for the little beaks. So I'm just going to, just a little bit, you can so do this with one colour. You don't have to do two colours for this, but I'm weird. So I've got those. We'll do a little bit of purple. We'll do purple for the flower, and then we'll do purple and orange for the little hearts here. So I've got V93 and V91. So I'm just going to put the V93 in the middle of the flower and then blend it out with the 91. Again, can do this with one colour. You don't need to. Oh no. Alright, this is because I'm me and is weird. But the orange on my little girl bird has bled just a little bit. Because it's such a tiny image and I haven't got very far, I'm just going to restamp it and do it again. Because I'd rather this be, because it is such a simple colouring and simple kind of card, I'd rather it be perfect. So, I'm just going to do just that bit first and I'll come back for the other bit. I'm actually just going to pull just a little bit of V28, which is a really dark purple. And I'm just going to put that right in the middle of the flower because I just feel like it needs something else. And then I'm going to do all of the hearts in the orange, and I'm going to do the little wavy bits in the purple. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. For the birds themselves, I feel like yellow is going to be the better colour, but I don't know. I'm just going to do them a very, very pale yellow. So this is Y00. I'm really just going to add it around the outside here, and then I'm going to grab my colourless blender see if I can blend it in so that it's almost white, but just with this little yellow sort of bit around the outside. We'll see how that looks in a sec. So I'm going to change one thing up. I was originally going to use my ends for the plate. I'm going to change that to C so it looks a bit more silver. And I'm just going to use the N0 to just add a little bit of shadow underneath here so that it kind of looks a bit more 3D. That was a bit more shadow than I wanted to. Not the biggest fan of the birds. I think the birds look a bit funny, but I'm hoping when I cut it all out that it'll look okay. So I'm just going to run these really quickly through the die cut machine, and then we will be able to start with the actual card base. So the little birdies will sit on top of the cake and they'll look like that. I think that's fine. Alright, so then for the background, I'm going to have a bit of fun with some different kind of textures because I love, simple cards are so much more fun when they've got a bit of texture to them. So I'm grabbing a bit of white cardstock. This is just plain white, there's nothing fancy about this one. And we'll just put this in here. Actually, just want to make sure this is the right, not the right size, but I'm going to sort of trim this down so it's a bit more of my card front. Would that be the right size or would that be... I really should just do this the right way all the time and then it wouldn't be a problem. So, grabbing a proper A5 sheet and we'll cut that in half and then fold it in half, which will give us our proper size. Then I'm just going to use this one, cut this down to where it sort of is, and I can work on this bit as my card front. Okay, so I'm grabbing, this is an oldie but a goodie from Kaiser Craft. It's this little script one. I don't use it particularly often because sometimes the Kaiser Craft ones just don't feel nice anymore. But it does give you a lovely finish, especially for something like this. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to try and get the whole card front, but it's going to be a bit small. So this is where I'll trim this down a little. So I'll just hold that down. I'm going to do it in a really pale grey. So I'm tossing up between my pumice stone, my contour ink, and my river rock. I think I'll try with the Hero Arts contour ink for this one. And the good thing about it is it really doesn't have to be perfect because you're not supposed to read the words. It's really just for the texture on the background. Okay. Does need a little bit more though because I missed a spot in the middle. Always miss a spot in the middle, but that's just about what I want, so I'm really happy with that. There we go, that's good. So it is a little darker in the middle, but I think that's fine because we'll change it up anyway. The other thing we're going to do is play with some embossing folders, and I'm debating using the little spots. This is from Uniquely Creative, or these floral bits from this is a Kaiser Craft one. I'm just going to cut out, this is a bit of silver metallic paper. I don't need a full bit of this. I'm just going to cut it to the same width as the other one so that I can sort of cover it all together. And then I'm just going to cut in half, and I'll do half for each folder, and we can then decide which one we're going to use. So I'm going to put the spots in here and run that through, and I'll put the leaves through and we'll run that through and see which one we like better. For anyone that's interested, when I run through the embossing folders, the ones I've got, I just take out my Thinlits adapter, and it works fine. Okay, so there we've got our spots, which we can do either side. I like that side better. And we've got our florals, and I think I'm leaning towards this one. It just looks more wedding-y to me. Just looks more wedding-y. So I'm going to cut this down so it's the right size. So just trimming all around the outside. We're going to put some black on here as well, which will finish it off. And then while I've got the paper trimmer out, I will cut that bit of black. So this is just black paper, it's not even cardstock. And I'm just going to cut it. I just want a little bit of a line, so that's just a waste bit. It was a bit messy on the end, so I'm just going to cut it, actually give myself a fair chunk of it, and then I can just layers are easier. Alright, so we're working out how this is going to sit. Sort of, I'll make this look a bit nicer as well, because it's a bit messy. There we go, now it's got a nice clean edge to it. You don't have to worry if it's not straight, because we're going to cut off a lot of the excess anyway. So it'll sit like this, and then we'll have our little cake with this, and then down the bottom we'll have the happy wedding. So it'll look, it obviously looks a bit weird at the moment, but we'll get there. So bit of glue tape on the black part. Obviously we'll cut off the excess. So I'm just working out where I want that to sit. I love that script in the background. It just looks so classic. Maybe just a little bit higher, because we're going to have the sentiment on the bottom. There we go. And then I'm using my mat here to help me make sure this is straight. There we go. Then I can just cut off the excess with some scissors. And then we'll bring in that lovely texture, and we'll just stick that down too. So I'm actually going to do the glue on here, and that way I can just cut off the excess and there's not glue all over the other bit, and I can save that for another project. So I've left a little bit at the top, and again I'm going to use my mat to help me line this up so that it's straight, because when you're playing with simple cards, the best way to do it is to make sure it's straight. Oops. And if you're moving it around like I am, sometimes a little bit of washi tape will solve that problem. Now, this happens sometimes with embossed, for me, embossed paper. Sometimes it'll tear through. I've got plenty of it, so I'm just going to cut a little bit more off so I haven't got that tear, and then I'll be fine. Once you stick it down, it'll be absolutely fine. For the little bits, we'll put them up on some foam tape, which I've got the smallest amount possible left. Actually, I'm going to grab, rather than get more foam tape out, I do have more foam tape. I'm just going to use some of these little square mounts from Uniquely Creative instead. I'll just grab my tweezers and use the little squares. Our little birds too. Actually, that yellow has started to dull down a little bit, which is sort of suiting me a little bit better. So it's not, I'm quite happy with it. That's just one foam square that I've just cut in half. It'll be perfectly fine there. And then just to keep them together, I'm just going to put a teensy little bit, whoops, what is wrong with you? Teensy little bit of glue, just liquid glue on their feet, so that I can put them together and it won't look like one's just sticking on top. Oh no, that's right, I've forgotten to do my white highlights, but I can still do that. I'll just do it in a sec. So I'm just holding these together just for a second while the glue gets tacky, and I can go ahead, take the backing pieces off and stick it down. Just grabbing my jelly roll, and you can't really see anyway because a lot of this is white. I'm just going to add a couple of little highlights just where there is colour. Alright, and then to finish this off we just need a sentiment. So I'm going to grab the one out of the set, and it'll be just the one that says Happy Wedding. We'll just put that on some black. So same piece of paper we used. Paper is fine, especially because I'm going to have it sit flat as opposed to sitting up. So paper is even easier. So a little bit of powder on here so that we don't get anything stuck. I moved my Versamark on my, in my storage thing, and now I can never find it. Just noticed that I've got a bit of a scratch there, so I just want to put it in a spot on the page that's nice, like that looks really nice, because that way it'll look nicer when we put it down. Spin this round. I'm going to use this same bit of black paper to do my mat. So just doesn't matter if that's not straight because we'll fix it up. So I'm going to stick this down onto this bit of black and just leave a little border around the outside, because that way when we put it down onto our card base it's got this nice black border as well. Now this is, if I've got a piece of paper like this and I don't mind wasting some, I'll do it this way, which is stick it down and then I can get the same sort of width the whole way around by using my guide here. So I'll just make the guide line up and then trim, and then I know that it's the same width mat the whole way around. Still very iffy when it comes to using my scoreboard for this. I don't know why. Sometimes you get just such a better result just doing it by hand. I do like getting the score tool out though to reinforce that fold so it's nice and crisp. And then we'll be able to put that. Oh, how good does that look? Tape all the way around. Making sure it sits on there nicely and evenly. Go. We can grab this in. Just grabbing a little cloth just to wipe off any of that excess powder. And then I'm going to do this the same way I just did with the other one. So I'm using my guide here to work out where I want to cut it to. And that'll give me a nice mat the whole way around. Have that sit flat. The only thing I'm going to do differently with this one is I'm just going to grab a bit of that scrap black and I'm just going to make sure I get tape all the way to the edge, and so it doesn't sort of flip up or anything. You could obviously put it at the bottom or right in the middle. I just think it looks nicer at the top, but it's obviously a personal preference thing. Making sure that it's straight and in the center. It is with glue dots, so you could pull it up again if you needed to. But there we have it. There's my, when I say simple, like it's not a 5-minute card or anything, but there's nothing particularly fancy to that, but we've played with a lot of texture. So there's a lot of texture with that script. There's a lot of texture with that embossing folder, and it's a very classic kind of card. Oh, sorry, there was one thing I wanted to do. The other thing that this has is it has this little knot and the sentiment on the inside. I just want it to say you tied the knot. It's very cute. So I'm just going to stick this down. I'm going to do this freehand, so without my Misti, which is kind of scary, but I should have done it to begin with. Just need to get my big block. So I'm just going to line that up where I want it. It's obviously not going to go here, but I can see the sort of outline. And I'm going to do this in the same, actually I'm going to use River Rock because it's slightly darker. But it's still keeping with this grey kind of thing. Just realised I've got through nearly a whole card without putting any speckles on it. Here we go. This would look lovely, by the way, with like silver embossing powder. Yay! You tied the knot. So it's got happy wedding. You tied the knot on the inside. And I just think it's very, very, very classy. I like that one. So I'd love to know what you think. If you like this one too, please give it a big old thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel for lots of other cards here. I do like to do different kind of occasions. Birthday cards are obviously, we always need them. But it's fun to play with a different occasion, and I don't make too many wedding cards, especially not on camera. So it's been fun to do this one. I hope you guys have an absolutely awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!